SAT and ACT English Writing and Grammar, dashes. Hi, this is John Linneball from John Linneball Tutoring, and here is my information if you want to contact me. JohnLinneball.com, John@JohnLinneball.com, and there's my phone number if you want my home office, and my cell phone number if you want to call or text me. What we're covering here, dashes. What are they and why use them? Why do we need to know this? When should we use them? When shouldn't we use them? If you like this video, please don't forget to give this a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and click on the little bell in the top right corner for notifications. What's a dash? Why use it? It's this thing here, not this arrow, this thing here that I'm circling. We can use them for the following: joining two related sentences without a comma and a conjunction, that is, you'd have to use a comma followed by a conjunction, or a semicolon. And you can use a dash to indicate a change in thought. You can use it to set off extra information such as parenthetical phrases or appositives. Think descriptions. Setting off a list or an explanation is the last use in the list here. So basically anything that you want to separate from the rest of the sentence, you can do with a dash. You can also think of it as kind of the queen in chess. It can do a lot of things that the other power pieces can do. So just like the queen in chess can do a lot of things, the dash can do a lot of things. So we'll get into that now. Why do we need to know this? Dashes are useful to separate clauses, lists, explanations, and parenthetical phrases. They indicate a change in thought. They keep sentences from running on. They're useful when you're joining two sentences, that is, independent clauses without a conjunction. It helps you introduce a different but probably related thought without creating a run-on sentence. It still reminds me of a self-help kind of hypnosis tape or something. You are a strong, independent clause. Anyway, the SAT and ACT both test to see if you know when to use dashes, especially since they can substitute for other punctuation. You'll be expected to know this when you're at college. You'll be expected to know this after college, such as when you're writing things for your job, or if you're writing things in general. Knowing this sort of thing will make you feel smarter. It should, since your writing will be easier and more interesting to read, and you'll sound, I should probably put that in quotes, when someone's reading your writing off a page, it will make you look smarter and you will sound smarter in that person's head. Join two sentences without a conjunction. A common use of the dash is to place it between two related sentences, also called strong clauses or independent clauses, the strong independent clause, to create one sentence without a conjunction. It works the same as a semicolon. It helps you continue a thought by combining two related ones. What's a conjunction? Well, a conjunction is a word used to join two words, clauses, phrases, etc. Don't worry, you know lots of conjunctions. You use them all the time. The most common conjunctions are the fanboys. That's an acronym that stands for and, not, but, or, yet, so. You don't need to use a conjunction after a dash. You just use a dash, like a semicolon. For example, you could start with two sentences such as, studying for the SAT is hard, period, one sentence. Second sentence, however, it will pay off in the long run. Then you could use a dash to make those two sentences into one. Studying for the SAT is hard, dash. However, comma, it will pay off in the long run. So you're using the dash there exactly the same way you would use a semicolon. You could say studying for the SAT is hard, semicolon. However, comma, it will pay off in the long run. See, we've joined two small thoughts into one larger one, which flows better. A semicolon also would have worked there, as I just said. So, studying for the SAT is hard, semicolon. However, it will pay off in the long run. You can also use a semicolon instead of a colon to set off a list or an explanation. For example, you could start with two sentences such as, remember the most important advice for taking the SAT, period. Don't panic, period. Some of you may know that as a quote from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Anyway, it is really good advice for the SAT, especially since, well, there's an ACT coming up in a couple days. So SAT, ACT, just don't panic. There always is a solution, or you'll be able to figure out why there is no solution to the problem. So take a deep breath, don't panic. But I digress. Then you could use a colon to make those two sentences into one. Remember the most important advice for taking the SAT, colon, don't panic. See, we've joined two small thoughts into one larger one, which flows better. You can also use a dash to accomplish the same purpose. Remember the most important advice for taking the SAT, dash, don't panic. And yes, for those of you who are paying attention, you could also use a colon, since don't panic is a complete sentence. It's a command form, so you don't have to expressly put you there. You can just have don't panic, and the you is implied. Here's an example with a list. The previous example was setting off an explanation at the end of a sentence. You could also use a colon to set off a list. Remember, the most important advice for taking the SAT, colon, don't forget your pencils, comma, don't forget your admission ticket, comma, don't forget your calculator, comma, and don't panic. You could also use a dash to accomplish the same purpose. Remember the most important advice for taking the SAT, dash. Don't forget your pencils, don't forget your admission ticket, don't forget your calculator, and don't panic. I know, it reminds me of those old credit card commercials. And don't forget your, I'm not going to mention the name, card, because they don't take no for an answer, and they don't take American Express. Okay, poor American Express. Anyway, you can set off a dependent clause. What's a dependent clause? It's any group of words that makes sense but isn't a complete sentence on its own. It's an incomplete thought. It lacks either a subject or a verb, or it contains a word that makes an independent clause a dependent clause. So it's good to use a dash to set off a dependent clause when it's a sharp break from the independent clause. Honesty, warmth, and sincerity are important things in show business. To learn to fake. Surprised by what came after the dash? Those are the breaks.
Well, these are the breaks. Break it up, break it up, break it up!
Ha ha. So honesty, warmth, and sincerity are important things to know in show business, or in show business, sorry. Honesty, warmth, and sincerity are important things in show business. That's an independent clause. That would be a sentence all by itself, is a sentence all by itself. And to learn to fake is a dependent clause, because if I just said to learn to fake, you'd say, what about to learn to fake? What am I expected to learn to fake? Please elaborate on that, John. All right, let's move on to the next slide here. To set off extra information, that is a parenthetical phrase. And notice I put the parenthetical phrase in parentheses. Hey, how do you like that? Okay, a parenthetical phrase is extra information that isn't necessary for the sentence to be a complete sentence. It's often information that's interesting or useful, but it's not crucial. And you could actually put it in parentheses if you wanted to. So here is an example. My car, dash, which I bought last November, dash, is a bright red Dodge Challenger. It's not necessarily important that I bought my car last November here. You could just say my car is a bright red Dodge Challenger. It can be important. My car, dash, which I bought last November, dash, has needed major repairs 4 times already. I may need to check the state's lemon law to see if I can return the car. And yes, I did use this example in my commas video. Well, sue me if you don't like it. Or maybe you say this video is a lemon and I need to do repairs on it. Ha ha ha. To set off an appositive. One particular parenthetical phrase is called an appositive, where a proper name is given for a person, place, or thing after it has already been sufficiently described. For example, my hometown is close to Niagara Falls, New York, and the Canadian border. I've already identified it as my hometown. I don't have to give the name. My hometown, North Tonawanda, is close to Niagara Falls, New York, and the Canadian border. You would cross over from Niagara Falls, New York to Niagara Falls, Ontario. The town is already sufficiently identified as my hometown, but giving the proper name is useful. What if I were from Lockport? What if I were from somewhere else? Town of Amherst, Clarence, something like that. Okay. And my 9th grade English teacher, dash, Mrs. Relaxer, dash, had an odd habit of sitting on top of an empty student desk and leaning back while lecturing the class. So I've already identified her as my 9th grade English teacher, and then I've given her the pseudonym Mrs. Relaxer here. So I've, that's an appositive where I'm giving the name when technically I don't have to if I don't want to. Removing a parenthetical phrase leaves a complete sentence. So here's the example. My car, which I bought last November, is a bright red Dodge Challenger. Remove which I bought last November, and we get my car is a bright red Dodge Challenger. That's a complete sentence. My car, dash, which I bought last November, dash, has needed major repairs 4 times already. Again, you can remove the which I bought last November, and we get my car has needed major repairs 4 times already. That's also a complete sentence. Common sense about dashes. Read the sentence and, in quotes, hear it in your head, in your internal voice that you hear when you're reading. Don't read it out loud to yourself, especially on the SAT or the ACT. If you talk during those tests, the proctors can kick you out. Probably just give you a warning, but just don't. Sincerity is very important. Once you've learned to fake that, you've got it made. Did you hear a pause where the dash is? Doesn't it sound right? Compare it to, sincerity is very important. Once you've learned to fake that, you've got it made. It sounds like a run-on sentence, right? So punctuation is important. And that dash really works there between the sincerity is very important and the once you've learned to fake that, you've got it made. So you've got an independent clause, sincerity is very important. That's a sentence by itself. Once you've learned to fake that is a dependent clause because it has the once. If you just had you've learned to fake that, it would be a it would be an independent clause. You could say you've learned to fake that. That's a complete sentence. But when you add the word once you've learned to fake that, what? That's an incomplete thought, John. I can tell that. Right. And all right. Then you've got it made. That's also a completely independent clause because you could just say you've got it made. That's a complete sentence. All right, let's move on. Commas versus dashes. Dashes can be used to set off parenthetical phrases in the same manner as commas. So dashes aren't used to separate list items, although a list could be separated from the rest of a sentence using a dash. I like apples, dash, bananas, dash, and pears isn't really proper punctuation. Someone might do it for kind of stylistic purposes and creative writing or something, but generally on the SAT, just leave something like that alone, or on the ACT, leave it alone. So I always buy lots of my favorite fruits, dash, apples, comma, bananas, comma, and pears is correct. Notice a colon would also work in place of the dash there. That's really what you're using it for, is just to set off a list at the end of a sentence that explains something. Oh, what favorite fruits are those? Oh, apples, bananas, and pears. Okay, thank you for explaining that to me. A dash can be used in place of a semicolon, comma, but a comma can't. That's a comma splice, remember? I like ice cream, dash, it is my favorite dessert is fine. I like ice cream, comma, it is my favorite dessert is not. Those are the breaks. More commas versus dashes. If you start to set off a parenthetical phrase with a comma, you must end it with a comma. The same applies to dashes. If it starts with a dash, it must end with a dash. I like spiders, comma, creepy as they may appear, dash, because they kill disease-spreading insects, and the thing between disease-spreading, that's called a hyphen. That's not a dash. That's used for making compound words. Although the modern trend seems to be to do away with those. But sue me if you don't like my hyphen. Anyway, that's a common mistake you'll have to correct on the SAT or ACT because you can see this parenthetical phrase is set off with a comma here but a dash at the end, and they'll have one or the other underlined so you can change it. So the answer will have to make the sentence look like I like spiders, dash, creepy as they may appear, dash, da-da-da-da-da, because they kill disease-spreading insects. Or I like spiders, comma, creepy as they may appear, comma, because they kill disease-spreading insects. Yes, this is also an example I used in my comma video. Oh well, those are the breaks. Did you find this video useful? Please like it and subscribe to this channel. Neither action costs you anything, and you'll always be alerted about my new, always free videos. Why do I care? Well, YouTube doesn't give me any ad revenue unless I have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours, which is 240,000 minutes of view time in a year. So if you saw an ad on my channel, if there's an ad that came before or after during this video that you watched right here, please know I got nothing from that. And while many people are watching these, I don't have 4,000 hours of watch time, and I still don't have anywhere near 1,000 subscribers, although my subscriber count is growing rapidly, so awesome. Thank you, all you subscribers there. And for the same reasons, you are not only welcome, but encouraged to share links to this video, put it in playlists, etc. I'm always happy to read and respond to constructive criticism or suggestions for new videos. I'd appreciate your input. I reserve the right to delete comments from and block those who specialize in destructive criticism. You know, trolls, people whose parents didn't pay enough attention to them when they were kids, whatever. Or things that are off topics, you know, spammers, disturbed people, da-da-da-da-da. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good day, night, whatever time it is there. Thanks. Bye.